During the early to mid 1940s, bebop was formed as a response to swing music. Tired of the cookie cutter commercial pop sound, some musicians wanted to further explore their ideas and were exploring the melodic and harmonic limits of their music. Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie set one of the key foundations, such as key harmonic and chordal innovations. This would be the key features of the evolution of jazz into bebop, with its fast tempos, complex chord progressions, and changes. Improvisation was a base set on the harmonic structures. Artists like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis were setting new heights within bebop. Bebop was created so the audience could focus on the chords and the change ups and the details going on into their songs. It was not meant to be danced to. Here's an example of the complexity of bebop's improvisation and chord progressions. This is Dizzy Gillespie's sextet performing Dizzy's Atmosphere. Here you can hear the improvisations and the complexity of the keynotes and the styles. So, on to cool jazz. Cool jazz was a response to bebop. It was a style of modern jazz that arose in the United States after World War II. Cool jazz brought jazz music back into the mainstream and repopularized jazz, and because of bebop's intensity and complexity, it did not have the mass appeal that the swing big band era did. Unlike bebop's fast, exciting, and hot features, cool jazz was more relaxed and developed soft tempos, featuring lighter, cool tones. Cool jazz was a blend of classical music and jazz, taking major influences through classical European music and was more European based, while bebop and hard bop are associated with more of an African based sound. Bebop was associated with the East Coast, and cool jazz is more associated with the West Coast. While bebop bands were usually a quartet or a quintet and were comprised of saxophone and or trumpet and rhythm section, cool jazz groups had a wider variety of size and instrumentations. Whereas bebop's emphasis was on the improvised solos, much of cool jazz was arranged and written ahead of time. Miles Davis was the first and most important cool jazz artist. As a trumpeter bandleader, he formed a nonet featuring artists such as Gary Mulligan and Gil Evans, creating the first important cool jazz album, which would soon be called Birth of Cool. Here's an example of cool jazz by Miles Davis. The song is called Moon Dreams, off of the album Birth of Cool. As you can tell, it's already slowed down. It has really drawn out notes, and you can just feel the relaxation that they are providing within their instruments. So, hard bop is in part a reaction to cool jazz. It developed from the 1950s as an extension of bebop. While many jazz musicians felt that cool jazz, the music had become too classical, that is, too European, not enough blues. Hard bop was a return to the music that was more Afrocentric. It was tying in with African American roots. It incorporated a lot of different styles and drew major influences from bebop, rhythm and blues, and black gospel music. These influences can be heard with the saxophone and the piano. Like bebop, hard bop is associated with the East Coast jazz music scene. Miles Davis would soon form a Miles Davis Quintet with John Coltrane in 1955, becoming prominent in hard bop. Here's an example of a hard bop by John Coltrane's song Spiral off of his album Giant Steps. Here you can tell that it's more sped up and has a lot more rhythmic style to it rather than bebop and cool jazz. There is still a sense of improvisation soloing. So at the end, cool jazz is a lot slow pace. It's a lot cooler, while bebop is a lot warmer and hot and fast paced. Hard bop is a mixture of the two in a sense, but in its own style